Hi, so in this video we're going to go over how to do calendar time. Calendar time is a great way to start the day, to get their minds busy, to get a lot done in a short amount of time, and to show them patterns and other things that you can build up with them. So usually you would do calendar time definitely for preschool and kindergarten, probably first grade, maybe even second or third grade. Usually, you'll just notice when your kid is not interested. But if they're asking about, when are we going to do this, then they're definitely ready for calendar time. So I start by giving them a baton so that they feel important. And we start with our calendar. So we go over the days of the week. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. These are the days of the week. These are the days of the week. And then we look to see what today is. So then I keep a board and we start going over what the day of the week is. So I found this, printed it and laminated it. You don't have to. And we just flip it around to what the day of the week is, and we talk about, well, yesterday was Monday, today is Tuesday, tomorrow is Wednesday. And then we do the month. So January, February, March, and April, May, June, July, and August, September, October, November, December. These are the months of the year. And so we mark what the month is. Then we're going to start going over what the number of our school day is. So we mark that on a hundreds chart. When you get a hundreds chart all the way filled up, usually you have a 100-day party. I'll do a video on that at some point. And then you want to do another hundreds chart so that way they can learn what comes next. Well, 101. So then we start working on our number of the day. So I keep these. This is just, I printed off the numerals with a blank tens frame below it and then filled in dots for each one. And I laminated these, clipped a hole in them and put them on rings. So that way we can just flip it over to say, oh, today is number 11. Yay! And building off of that, we usually want to keep track of that with a visual representation. This year I like to use Legos because we can stack them up into a group of 10 and then start a new stack. I've also done it with straws where you put a rubber band around it, or with a gumball like this. These are dollar store stickers. And then I've also done it with bingo stampers. So also on our board, we've had a lot of time problems in her workbook. So we started doing a time thing. So I'll ask her, can you show me 2 o'clock? Can you show me 2:30? And then she remembers, oh yeah, that's different. So at first we just started with a bunch of o'clocks. 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 5 o'clock. And then sometimes I'll ask her, what is this time? And then she has to read it and tell me. So we do it back and forth different ways. Then she was starting to learn some sight words, but she was really struggling with those, so we just introduced one at a time. This is just a piece of plywood that was scrap at our house, and I put felt over it. I was planning on eventually getting that felt backing stuff, but I never got around to doing that. So she started working on CVC words, so I printed off a circle and I put clip art on it with the letters there, so then we can spin this around and she can practice reading the words. So for this one, can't really see it, but this one says bed, red, wed, fed, and led. And then later on, she would have worksheets or games that build on that. So then also for our numbers of the day, we want to work on money. So we start with our poem. So I keep this printed for me, but she can't read it, so it doesn't matter. Penny, penny, easily spent, copper brown and worth 1 cent. And so then we pull out, like 11 pennies. And then later on, once they've learned dimes, you can add in dimes, like 1 dime and 1 penny, or nickels. And there's poems for each one of those, along with quarters. You can find them online very easily. And then, of course, once you fill up your hundreds chart, then you can start working with dollars. So then we go over all the letter sounds because she's still a beginner reader. And we do a hundreds chart where we count all the way up to our number of the day, and then we keep counting to 100, and then we'll do some sort of number pattern where we might count by 2s, 5s, or 10s, or sometimes we'll just count backwards. And sometimes we don't even do all the way up to 100. We'll just count backwards from 10 or 20. So it just helps build those patterns up. So that's pretty much what we would do for one day. And I try to do this as many days as what I can stand to do. It drives me nuts to actually do routine every single day. So I'm going to show you some other ways that you could do this. If you don't want to have things on your wall or you don't have a lot of room, you could get a trifold for like science projects. So here's one that I made. We were really into My Little Ponies that year. So I made these pretty My Little Pony calendars. And then this is my days of the week. And it says today is, or yesterday was, today is, tomorrow will be. And then down here, we wrote it, today is, we wrote out the date and then did it in numerals. So hard. And then we found our number on our number line and then wrote it out in words and then did a tens frame. We filled that in with bingo stampers. And then our money, we counted it in a piggy bank and a hundreds chart. And I colored this odds and evens so that she could practice that because that was in her math book that year. This is just a brad with a paper clip and a piece of foam. So this was really, I made this really cheap because I didn't have any money back then. I didn't have laminating, so this was just a page protector. So then we did tally marks and draw a picture of the number. So she really liked getting this out and doing this, but to me it was kind of a lot, so I was usually like, oh, let's go, and I would come up with something else because I really didn't want to do it. This was one of my earliest calendars, and it was just a piece of poster board that I marked up, and then I cut little teeny slits and put paper clips in this. And so then I could print out clip art, or sometimes I cut designs by hand. And so I would give them all the pictures for the month, and they would fill in all the days at the beginning of the month, and they got to decorate it, and they would put it in a pattern order. So like during the summer, I gave them shovels and flip-flops and buckets. And so then they would put it in a pattern. So usually on one side, I would write the number, or sometimes I would do it in like dots, so that way they could trace over it. So they could just flip the number around, and then later on we would just throw the number away. And this was nice because then it felt like the days were going by, which when you have little kids, the days don't go by very fast. So I really, really, really liked this calendar. Here was a dry erase calendar. Again, it felt like the days went by. And what I did with this that was kind of cool was my daughter was always asking, well, when are we going to go to church? When are we going to? And so she needed to know when we were going to do stuff, and it drove me crazy. So what I did was I found like pictures of our church and the grocery store, and I printed them off on labels. And then I put those labels on those removable stickers like you put on the window clings or whatever. And so then she could put those on this dry erase calendar every week when we were going to do things. And so then I didn't have to answer that anymore. So there's some different ways of doing that. You could also find a printed version of this, like on Pinterest, where you just print it out and put it all in a binder, and then they can just open it up and do the things. So here's some other things that you could exchange here. You could go over like temperature and weather. So have them look outside and say, oh, today is rainy. And then you would record it on some sort of chart or graph. And then you would probably track like what the temperature outside is. And you could also even add in what's appropriate clothing. So this is nice because then they learn like I shouldn't be wearing pants when it's hot outside. So you could have like either a doll or a bear, or even if you wanted a printed version of this, and so they could practice dressing those things up with the appropriate clothing. You could also practice some word problems. So for the youngest kids, you only want to do like 1 or 2. And just, you say it out loud and you draw a picture on the board for them to work with. You could go over the continents so that they want to learn the 7 continents eventually, and later on the oceans. And there's a song for that too. So I think, let's see. North America, South America, Europe, Africa, and Asia. Don't forget Australia and Antarctica. You could also do the pledge, or, going over the symbols or like your address or something. So there you have it. It's not a big deal.